Could we be seeing a free agent signing this upcoming summer or this offseason, as the Atlanta Hawks are reported to be one of the top teams to land this former NBA MVP? And just in my honest opinion, I feel as though there's a good and there's a bad to this. This player has definitely been polarizing to the NBA altogether. But nonetheless, with this core group, we do understand that the Atlanta Hawks definitely have some good things coming ahead of them. And of course, the Atlanta Hawks organization just as a whole has a lot to do this summer and this offseason to ensure that next season doesn't end off like this last season, where the Atlanta Hawks end up fizzling out of the play-in tournament and just ending up at home or in Cancun or wherever NBA players like to hang when they don't make the playoffs. But nonetheless, there are reports that the Atlanta Hawks are actually one of the top 2 teams of landing a former NBA MVP. And that could be good news for some Hawks fans, and other Hawks fans might feel indifferent. I am going to dive into all of the details. I'm going to explain what could possibly be happening, who else is in the running for this player, and how this could possibly benefit the Atlanta Hawks, this young core, and if this could possibly keep Trae Young. But before we get into any and all of that, let's go ahead and christen the show. What's happening? My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest. And it is a lot going on. Again, today starts the Western Conference Finals. And just overall, the conference finals are starting up versus the New York Knickerbockers and the Indiana Pacers. That's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow. I think it's tonight. Either way, you got the New York Knicks taking on the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you have the OKC Thunder taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. So a lot to look forward to just in NBA in general. But I am here to talk to you guys about just the Atlanta Hawks and how things match up with them as far as, what's going to be happening. We all know that there are a lot of things that definitely have to happen for the Atlanta Hawks this season. I mean, we understand that the Atlanta Hawks, they definitely have they got their work cut out for them. Of course, they severed ties with former general manager Landry. They brought in Ansai Salah as the stand-in general manager, and now we are looking for a president of basketball operations. I don't know how well that look is going right now. I know that the Atlanta Hawks have said that they wanted Masai Ujiri to be, or he was one of the top leading candidates that the Atlanta Hawks wanted to get him to land in here or in Atlanta. So of course that is on the books as well. So right now we can only look again, and I'm just pointing out or laying the scene for what the rest of this side of the offseason looks like, because I think on the other side of the draft, you got you got workouts coming out soon. I think they go back to working out, I think in October, November, things start to get ramped up for the NBA. So there's a lot to look forward to, just to be honest. But the Atlanta Hawks, they have the number 13 and number 22 pick in the NBA draft this year coming up June 26th. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. My man, Chris Timore, just went over it last night. So make sure that you guys go over and check that out as well. Also, too, before I go any further, definitely want to thank everybody for viewing and watching the content. The 65 of you that are not subscribed, that is okay. We want to make sure that you guys continue to listen and keep clicking. And if something kind of twinges your ear or whatnot, make sure that you guys come back and keep checking us out, because we will be here to give you all the information and, all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. Of course, it is said that the Atlanta Hawks, are of course trying to get somebody in, some more people in to add to this young core that we already have. What young core am I talking about? Jalen Johnson, who is returning from a shoulder injury, season-ending shoulder injury last year. You get Trae Young back. You get Dyson Daniels, who's the most improved player of the year. He should have got defensive player of the year, but that's not my argument. Zaccharie Risacher, who of course should have got rookie of the year just in general. You also have not Kobe, but Onyeka Kongwu, Mo Gay. We got a lot of different guys that are young but still developmental or developing in the NBA. And so According to offshore sports book Bovada, I think that is. Yeah. The Atlanta Hawks are actually the number 2 team of landing. Get this, guys. Russel Westbrook, former NBA MVP. You dig what I'm saying? Just ended the season with the Denver Nuggets. And again, this guy's a polarizing player just in general. Of course, he started out his career extremely hot with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Himself, Kevin Durant, and James Harden seemed like they were going to be a match made in heaven for those 3 guys, especially around the time when big threes were popping up out of the NBA. You had Boston, you had Miami, so this was almost like an organic big 3. All of these guys were drafted into that organization. Kevin Durant was drafted by the Supersonics, who then, of course, became the Oklahoma City Thunder. So with all of that, we think about Russell Westbrook in that sense, but then he went through somewhat of a rough patch in his career. Right after, I want to say Kevin Durant decided to go to the Golden State Warriors. I think he stayed with OKC for about a year or 2 later. Then he started to bounce around the league. I mean, he's been with teams like Washington. He's been with the Lakers at one point in time. I want to say he's been with the Clippers as well. So he has hit somewhat of a rough patch around his career where they would call him Westbrick, or they'd have just nasty things to say about him, run-ins with different people, different fans prior to the game and after, or even during the game. So he's definitely a polarizing character, but one thing you can't argue is that this past year he has had a very productive year playing in a 6-man kind of role with the Denver Nuggets. Did a really good job with the Denver Nuggets, and just added a lot of energy to that team last year. Of course, they went 6 games with the OKC Thunder, and of course they did not make it to the Western Conference Finals. So of course Russell Wilson is out of the NBA playoffs, but it is good to talk about what the plans are for next season. Now, Westbrook has a $3.4 million option with the Denver Nuggets, so he could possibly take that option and stick with the Denver Nuggets. However, it is speculated that he possibly will opt out of that, which would then make him a free agent. He could possibly go to a bevy of different teams or whatnot, and I think I have that here. Yeah, so right now the Brooklyn Nets are the number 1 team that are looking to, well, they have the best odds. Let me not say the number 1 team, but they got the best odds to landing Russell Westbrook. You also have us, Orlando, Utah, Portland, LA Clippers, surprisingly, San Antonio, Phoenix, Milwaukee, New York, Boston, Cleveland, Golden State, and the Los Angeles Lakers. A few of those teams he's already played on. So there are chances that he could end up there. And of course, again, this report is just telling you guys that the Atlanta Hawks are, they have the second best odds. We're tied with the Orlando Magic to get Russell Westbrook and bringing him here with the Atlanta Hawks and possibly adding to what the Atlanta Hawks already have. Right now, just giving off what Russell Westbrook did last year, he primarily, like I said, played in the 6-man role. He was off of the bench. He appeared in 75 games last year, which is impressive. Averaged 13 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, and 6.1 assists as a player off of the bench. That is good, and that is productive. And again, we've seen Russell Westbrook, throughout this season and throughout his time with the not Golden State, but with the Nuggets. So again, this is some good stuff. And just in general, Russell Westbrook does add some value to whatever team that he does decide to go to. Now, the Nuggets, I will say, they're not old, but they are an older and more experienced team. That is a team that does have a lot of veterans. If that team were to split up and either one of those guys were to go elsewhere, they have a veteran presence. So in that regard, I do feel as though Russell Westbrook does add that value to the Atlanta Hawks if he were to come to the Hawks. He does add a veteran presence to this young core. Risacher, Dyson Danials, he's very scrappy. So having him and Dyson Daniels out on the 3-point line or protecting that could possibly be of some benefit to the Atlanta Hawks. Let me slow down a little bit, but Westbrook is somewhat of a do-it-all kind of player. He does have an extreme motor, and again, that to me, and sometimes goes well with certain players. I know that Zaccharie Risacher does have the ability to turn it on and get going like really fast and, being fast paced and pushing the ball up and down the court. That's something that Russel Westbrook can add to. He could also add a defensive portion to things. Again, he's very scrappy. He has a motor, and that is infectious to a potentially young a potentially young Atlanta Hawks bench. And that is a good thing to have. And then on top of that, he has a relationship with Trae Young. He and Trae Young's relationship goes all the way back to when Trae Young was at Oklahoma. He had a relationship with Russel Westbrook. They, would talk prior to games, after games, this, that, and the third. Almost like a big brother, little brother kind of situation. And so it could seem as if there would be a possibility of instant chemistry between those two. Or Russel Westbrook would know how to come off of the bench or know how to accommodate Trae Young. Be that Trae Young is the prominent star on this team. He is the guy on the team. And so if Russel Westbrook were to humble himself and come into a situation where he's not the number one guy or the number one option for that team, I think this could be a good thing for the Atlanta Hawks just in general. Now, when you think about it, again, he is a very polarizing player. You dig what I'm saying? He's very polarizing. He's something that a lot of people are on the fence about him. A lot of people are on the fence about Russel Westbrook, and the question is whether or not he can add value to a young core. And so we understand that there are some negatives. He's somewhat streaky. He's a streaky shooter. I think he's somewhat about mid 30% shooting from the three-point line in his career. I know last season, I think he shot about 35%, 32 or 35% from the three-point line, 44% from the field. So again, he does have the ability to turn it on offensively and get to his own shots, but at other points, it does seem as if it's a bit much. He is aggressive, very aggressive. I said earlier that he does have a motor that can be infectious to a young bench, but also, too, his motor could just be a bit much. And sometimes he could be too aggressive, turning the ball over or missing give me layups. You dig what I'm saying? Like times where he's pushing the ball up court where, he might leave the rest of his teammates behind him and he might push up the court for a layup and he might not make it. Again, I'm not saying that this is an indictment on his overall game, but just as an evaluation, I just understand that there are times where he could be a bit much. So there's a lot that we can get into in regards to Russel Westbrook as far as positives and negatives. I want you guys to comment in the section below and definitely tell me your thoughts on this overall signing, if you will, or if the Hawks are even planning on going after him and doing so. Again, we're the number two. Well, tied for the second best odds of landing him. So it's up from here. And then last thing that I'm kind of excited for is the fashion. You know what I mean? I'm super geek for the fashion. I want Russel Westbrook to hit us with the fashion. You know what I'm saying? And so listen, being in Atlanta, not only do you have a lot of people that have their own fashion lines, but, he has his own fashion line, and Atlanta has become somewhat of the fashion mecca of the South. So, hey, this could be a match made in heaven with the Atlanta Hawks and Russel Westbrook. He could help the Hawks get to another level. That could be the case, but you guys tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel as far as how this situation will play out, and, we'll come to an agreement or maybe not. But either way, it's a lot of stuff that the Atlanta Hawks have to do. First, they have to start off by getting in the president of basketball operations. Once we do that, of course, the draft is coming up. We got 2 picks in the first round, and we also got to get some strength on the strength either on the bench or either on the inside for the Atlanta Hawks. But either way, it is a lot to get done, and I'm going to be here to report to you every time I get a chance. I'm going to make sure I tell you guys what the Atlanta Hawks are up to. My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest. Signing out, guys. Peace.